Imagine your life always gave you a hard time so far. You experienced crisis over crisis, and the end of the struggle doesn't seem close whatsoever. And suddenly, you meet a person who seems to be something close to a savior, though his character is the worst. Although you'll finally feel lighter, getting a paycheck, a job, and even the feeling of belonging somewhere. Until it all crackles and you realize it was only you with your delusional feelings. So it's interesting to see that in the last Jinx chapter 65. We experience that Jaekyung seems to learn about a new side of Kim Dan through Kim Dan's grandma. Is he finally realizing that Kim Dan is not okay? Even that he didn't notice anything throughout their time together? What if he's even feeling guilty for it? I sincerely hope that now, better late than never though, he will start to reflect and realize how bad he treated Kim Dan, and even contributed a big part to his misery. So Kim Dan's words still go under Jaekyung's skin, since he's thinking about them again and how angry they make him. Well, let me ask you one thing, Jaekyung. Are Kim Dan's words triggering you? Since you know that they perhaps be true, my boy? Being stubborn as he is, it's no wonder that first his intention is to definitely bring Kim Dan back to Seoul. Now he even got the official proposal from Kim, Dan's grandma, to do so too. But being completely delusional, he still thinks that Kim Dan is the key in order to gain back his title. That's at least what he's trying to convince himself with, because we see a panel where he's thinking that there's no other reason than the jinx that needs to be taken care of. But this panel depicts his facial expression good and can be interpreted as though he himself does not 100% believes what he's thinking. And that's good. Him being Delulu has reached its peak, and I hope that soon realizations are going to hit him because it's quite about time, don't you think? On the other side, his fixation on the jinx might be interpreted as the need to gain back of control. Could this be related up his backstory? Obviously, he didn't gain the champion title and the status from giving up easily, but him trying to get to Kim Dan through grandma just depicts his stubbornness perfectly. He's not willing to give up until he can take Kim Dan with him to Seoul, though he thinks he just needs Kim Dan for his jinx and comeback, but we all know that there's something deeper. He even admitted that he's feeling and sleeping all better now. And I don't think it's because of the ocean breeze, but because he finally found Kim Dan and sees him and can be close to him again. Back to Jaekyung's plan to get to Kim Dan through his grandma. Because seeing grandma completely turning the tables wasn't something I expected. Overall, I absolutely enjoyed their time together at the beach and kind of how gentle and calm they talked to each other. Granny seems to really care for Jaekyung and be thankful what he did for Kim Dan, since she only saw and know about the good things. So we learned that Jaekyung has a sweet spot for elders and can't decline, since in previous chapters he even helped them out. Perhaps it's due to respect. But imagine if his backstory is similar to Kim Dan's, that he was raised by grandparents or elderly who took good care of him. That would be absolutely insane. On the other hand, we again experience that Kim Dan has been lonely for the most part of his life, though he had a caring grandma who tried her best. Being an orphan, and it seems without much friends back in the day, he was happy with the bare minimum that Jaekyung gave him. That absolutely broke my heart. Kim Dan's grandma telling this Jaekyung, we can clearly see that he has a conscience and perhaps even feeling guilty. He didn't even notice Kim Dan being a heavy smoker or drinker. Seeing Jaekyung's POV is interesting because we get a glimpse into his thoughts and mind, how he's experiencing things or remembering moments with Kim Dan. This is quite important, and from chapter to chapter, we will get little hints and parts of the whole puzzle. Why was he remembering their night on the couch in chapter 29 when they were talking about their sleeping habits and that Jaekyung isn't sleeping good? He realized that Kim Dan is really in a bad condition now. What if Jaekyung's insomnia will be Kim Dan's rescue since his sleepwalking got worse? We know that Jaekyung stated that his sleep got better, but I'm pretty sure that seeing Kim Dan now twice sleepwalking in the state of his room, he will try to have an eye on him. So in the last thoughts, theories, and predictions video, we were talking about 3 possibilities for chapter 65. The first possible scenario was that Jaekyung is laying in bed and we will get his POV, and that he will reflect on Kim Dan's change in attitude. It will take him a while to understand the damage he'd done. This didn't occur per se, though he still was thinking about their interaction that night on another day when he was training in the morning. I still believe that now he will start reflect on the damage he contributed to Kim Dan's condition. The second possibility was that we will get a chapter full of reflecting and thinking about Kim Dan's cause of change in behavior and attitude, but with a glimpse into Jaekyung's past. Sadly, that didn't occur, but we got glimpses into Kim Dan's past through his grandma, which is also really interesting and perhaps influenced Jaekyung's conscience. The third hypothesis was about Jaekyung coming to Kim Dan's workplace for treatment and then having another meeting. Also, this didn't occur to 100%, though he indeed went to Kim Dan's workplace, but for another reason than meeting Kim Dan. So for the upcoming chapter, let's have a look at 3 possible scenarios that might occur. Now that we know that Kim Dan is still sleepwalking and drinking a lot, and also Jaekyung being aware of it, things might go different this time. Jaekyung already saved him once out of the ocean, and now knows what the cause might be. Firstly, we will obviously see them spend their night together, perhaps even at Jaekyung's place so that he can have an eye on him. He will either sleep with him in bed, since he said that his sleeping has improved, but will hold Kim Dan so that he can react quickly. Or he will sleep on the floor and let Kim Dan sleep in the bed. Though, I think it's more option 1 rather than Jaekyung sleep on the floor. Secondly, we will have an incident where Kim Dan again tries to get up to sleepwalk again, since his landlord told Jaekyung that sometimes it can happen more than once a night. But Jaekyung will wake up and be able to hopefully interfere so that Kim Dan is safe. Thirdly, though I'm being delusional here because I think it's not too realistic, we will get a peaceful night where Kim Dan and Jaekyung will sleep together in bed, and Kim Dan will wake up next morning confused what happened and where he is. What if Jaekyung will realize that he can get even better sleep with Kim Dan in his arms? Though I'm not so sure whether Kim Dan will be happy about it, we will see. But I'm really craving some real affection and gentle touches without having more. I really want to see them get close while Jaekyung being awfully awkward. I'd love that. I bet it's all completely new to Jaekyung. So what do you think? What are your thoughts, theories, and predictions on Chapter 66? I'd love to hear them in the comments.